Now we'll get an idea how well my crazy idea for the flowers in the sky works. I want to emphasize them slightly by painting them white, which is sort of de-emphasizing them. I've covered painting fabric before, so I'll go over this pretty quickly. I've painted the outside boundary of all 7 flowers with a mix of white and silver paint, thinned slightly with water. If I had a pearly or opalescent white, I would use it. Instead, I'm adding the silver to add a little shine to the white. I plan to make the flower centers light pink somehow. Right now I've put little scraps of upside down pink fairy frost over each one. I like these Jacquard, Lumiere, and Neopaque paints that I always use. They're available in starter packs, which is a reasonable way to get started and experiment with these paints. They don't change the hand and make fabric stiff the way that some other paints like craft paints can. But if I had a pearly looking white craft paint, I'd probably use it on this, even though I might have to experiment a bit with heat setting it and running it through the wash on a scrap beforehand. I don't thin with water very much because the paint needs to retain enough of its properties to heat set and to have some body on the fabric. But I thin it enough that it sort of soaks into the fibers fairly quickly, rather than just sitting on top. It's hard to get the paint smoothed into the little nooks and crannies up against the stitching when it's too thick. I got out the extender, as I usually do, and then I forgot to use it, which is what I almost always do. The extender is essentially the same thickness as the paint itself. And so when I use extender, I do tend to thin it as well. This painting takes me about 45 minutes. It must be my inner flower child that wants these flowers in the sky of this somewhat serious wall hanging. There's no logic to it. I just saw this in my head, sketched it when I was thinking of what to do with the piece, and decided to actually try it. Remember that I saw the lemon slices and really wanted to do them too. And I don't really care about them anymore. They don't bug me, but I don't enjoy them much either. Incidentally, I've used these same 2 watermelon paper plates and the same margarine tub for this work for well over a decade. I've used the same motley assortment of brushes for many, many projects. My best detail brush fell apart the other day. I may have to replace it soon. I try to paint inside the line, but if the line doesn't go where I want, I paint outside the lines. Some of the flowers in the water made me think, who quilted these? I'm not sure yet, but I think I'm going to like this a lot. I keep thinking Lucy in the sky with daisies. These aren't daisies. They're 5 petals like the plumeria that I've loved since I was a girl in Hawaii. If anyone's ever greeted you in Hawaii with a plumeria lei, you may remember what they smell like. Where a flower goes under the edge of the fabric, I lift up the raw edge and dab paint under it a little. If the fabric gets a little paint on the underside, that's okay with me. But after washing, I don't want the frayed edge to show that the design wasn't painted all the way. I also use my fingernail to scrape paint off the surface if I get a little outside the boundary. If you really mess up, you can gently clean the surface with a wet Q-tip or bit of paper towel, and don't heat set parts you're trying to wash out. If you do a bunch you really dislike, washing immediately may remove the paint completely. Of course, this would be a last resort. Take your time, enjoy this process, and if it's not something you can enjoy, I would focus on other techniques. Next, I'll show you how I mark my branches and shadows on the water. I'm just using black ink on my piece. I have 4 tips here, and I mainly use 3 of them. The 2 on the Copic in black 100, a bluish black, and the soft brush on the Faber-Castell Pitt pen. I have a fine tip ready, but don't end up needing it. My mini took about 6 minutes to ink, and my full-size piece takes about twice that. I end up wishing I'd slowed down and taken a little more time. I get a little heavy-handed low in the water, and I wish I'd showed more restraint, as I did when I did the water on the mini. I think I can stitch it so it will look nice, but I might have liked it better if it were a little cleaner in the low part of the water. You can see what I'm doing right here. I try to mark a little between the peacock feather bushes. I don't have any magic secrets here. Just use something that shouldn't brown. Go easy on your marker tips. Try to evoke what is going on in the picture. Remember that stitching will bump up the complexity of the design, and remember that sometimes less is more. And I try not to forget any big areas of the piece. I love the look of the dark leaves in front of the water, and so I enjoy dabbing ink on to create them. I don't worry too much if I get black ink on my black fabrics. On the horizon, I try to evoke some of the detail at the top of these trees. Referring to the photo constantly helps. I have to restrain myself a little. It's easy to just want to do every inch of the horizon. Dappling in these leaves is also fun somehow. The trick seems to be not making the shapes too regular, too marker-like, too many the same altogether. Here, I try to add some on my lemon slice. I make a point of marking in the odd hole that I left on the horizon. I'll come back later to do more. I've thread sketched things like this without any ink, and I like this better. Some people may think it's cheating. This broad tip on the Copic or Copic marker, depending on how you pronounce it, lays down a lot of ink. I don't mind this work at all. We are having crazy weather where I live in Montana. 95 a few days ago, low 40s with rain where I live and snow in the mountains today, and then we're going to get back up to 90 again soon, within a week. The trees here really are my favorite parts, and so I'm trying not to mess this up. On this side, I go ahead and draw in some branches with ink. I'll also stitch branches when I come back later and put this in the machine. Just a thought. If you've never watched Bob Ross paint, I recommend that you do. You'll be a better fiber artist for taking the time. I have to say, there's a lot that I like about this piece. I feel pretty good about it. The story on the mini is similar, although as I explained before, I did the inking before adding most of my trees and bushes. The mini is nice and compact, easy to keep the whole piece in view while I work. I'm using the same markers, jumping from area to area. I remember it was important to get an idea of how each area would look, done the way I had planned. I especially wanted to know if I could get the shadows on the water to look the way I wanted. Also the laciness in the trees. I like the way I inked some of the fairy frost with the broad tip of the Copic marker. I may add a little of that to my larger piece. I often take a quick picture at the end of a step and look at them in black and white to get an idea of where I am with my values. Next, I'll add enough thread sketching to heighten the visual complexity of all this plant life and shadow. I've done tree shapes a lot. Generally, you are trying to return on the same path that took you out on a particular limb, but it is easy to get a little lost. This one shows how once you've done this, you might want to turn each of these lines into a separate limb where they're crossing each other. These are not giant limbs covering half our quilt, and there's a lot to distract from this mistake anyway, so it's pretty easy to recover from it. Say this is my raw edge shape and the dashed line is my stitching. I'm really trying to stitch into the fray area and not beyond, but if I go a little bit up onto the shape, it isn't that big of a deal to me. What I'm really trying to avoid is making too many of these accidental triangles, either on the horizon or on the treetops. Although a few of these aren't going to ruin your piece, it really shouldn't look like you just zigzagged along the edge of your raw edge applique. Now say this ink is my water. I'm just doing this. The ink is gray and the thread is black, and I think it really needs the thread. But I'm trying to go back where I came from and not have to restart up over and over all over the quilt. Thread painting my full-size piece took more than 20 minutes, and the mini took almost 10. Here's a bunch of that. Remember that the video controls allow you to watch the video either faster or slower than it was uploaded. There are probably a lot of other ways to do this. My hope with this course is to empower your desire to experiment, to play, and to find your own way. This work is fun and enriching. It is a way to use fiber to express your point of view in a noisy world. And you can do it working with beautiful materials in a way that is tangible and feels grounded. I hope landscape quilting gives you as much joy as it has given me. Notably, I don't stitch everywhere on the inked areas that are low in the water. I'm planning not to heat set some of these areas. I'll heat set my flowers and the ink that's higher up in the water. But so if some of this lower ink that I wish I hadn't put on washes out, great. If they are still visible after I wash this, I'll come back and stitch them a little bit later when I'm finishing up. The reality is, with all of this kind of sewing, we may try something new that doesn't work. We may accidentally do more than we meant to. We may do something we've done to good effect hundreds of times, but it doesn't look good here. We may ruin something. If any of these things happen, don't overreact. Sleep on it, mull it over, then figure out a way to fix it. Thanks.